That was when he saw the waves fast approaching. It looked like something that would definitely kill him, and if he didn't get out of the water as soon as possible, he might eventually die. So he started paddling as fast as he could, but couldn't paddle fast enough to outrun the approaching tide. Tides of Destiny, Part 1. A long time ago, before the advent of religion, and the ancient people only worshipped gods, in the distant part of a place now called Lagos State, there was a little coastal village called Ife, lying between the whispering palm trees and the relentless waves of the Gulf Guinea. In this little village, the villagers were always happy. Sun can be seen kissing the sea every morning as the fishermen are on the river reeling in the fish of different quantities and sizes with their nets and hooks in the handcrafted boats made from their village woods. At night, the moon sang lullabies to the tides that rose as high as possible, providing the village with a cool and calm aura. Adesua, the only daughter of Olokun, the ancient sea deity, was unlike any other mermaid. Her eyes were like the ocean itself, deep and mysterious. Her iris was like the color of seaweed, shimmering with hints of turquoise and silver, like they held secrets of countless shipwrecks. Her laughter echoed through the coral caves. As an adventurous person and curious soul that she was, her soul yearned for more. She secretly longed to walk on land, to feel the earth beneath her scales, and feel what those humans with feet always feel. Chijioke was a young fisherman who learned fishing from his father at a very young age. His fingers were now well adapted to steadying nets and fishing rods. He was acknowledged as one of the best fishermen in the whole village. He was also equally talented as a poet. His nets carried stories of lost love, forgotten gods, and unseen mysteries. As happy as the villagers were, there was a story in the village, and this story struck fear in the hearts of everybody in the village, even among the bravest men. It was a story that had been passed down from generation to generation, and this story was about mermaids, and how they brought about the deaths of their ancestors who used to sail the seas. Although the villagers had never seen these mermaids, they believed these stories and made sure that at night they were not found on the river to avoid these mermaids they had heard about from capturing them. The villagers have been able to stick to their normal routine and avoid being captured by any of these mermaids they've heard about in the stories. Everything went as normal as it has always been. One day, Chijioke headed to fish at the river, and one could say that he had a bad fishing day because he could capture no fish. It was like the fishes knew he was there and they all ran away. Every part of the water he used to fish was empty and he couldn't catch a single fish. He was frustrated and decided to go further into the river. While he was fishing, he lost track of time, yet he still hadn't captured any fish. This became very strange, as he wondered what could make all the fishes in this river disappear. He soon started to notice that the night was fast approaching. He was disappointed and was about to turn his boat around and head back to the village to avoid being the prey of the mermaids. Although he and the rest of the village had heard about the mermaids, none of them had seen a mermaid in their entire life. That was when he saw the waves fast approaching. It looked like something that would definitely kill him, and if he didn't get out of the water as soon as possible, he might eventually die. So he started paddling as fast as he could, but couldn't paddle fast enough to outrun the approaching tide. Seeing that this might be the last thing he would ever see, he started praying to the gods to forgive his sins and guide him through the afterlife. And so it happened that as the tide flung Chijioke's boat into the ocean, he gasped for one last breath of air before losing consciousness. Adesua was having her normal swim when she noticed the boat above the ocean. She had been touring this water for over 15 years, but had never seen a boat in this part of the water that far out into the ocean. As she was watching this human trying to struggle against the upwelling tide, she took pity on him and decided to help him, just as he lost consciousness and started to sink. With her powerful tail, she swam as fast as she could, and eventually she caught up with him. But Chijioke didn't know what was happening, as he was not awake to witness any of this. She quickly swam out from the water to the shore while making sure no one saw her. She placed him close to a rock, but couldn't stop staring at his face, as Chijioke's face was very pleasing to look at. She stayed with him as time went by, still staring at his face. Soon enough, Chijioke woke up to a face staring at him, and he saw the most beautiful face he had ever seen. Adesua was suddenly surprised and quickly swam back into the river. It was then that it dawned on him that he was dead some moments ago, but was now alive, not in the afterlife, but on land, with a beautiful face with ocean blue eyes staring right back at him. These eyes didn't just belong to an ordinary human, but to the most feared being in their village. Not only that, but one of the so-called beings that had killed their forefathers had just saved him from an untimely death. He was still processing this as Adesua fled hastily into the river. To satisfy his curiosity, Chijioke walked closer to the river and tried calling out to the mermaid who had just saved his life. She hesitated, but eventually decided to show her face. And this time, they both stared at each other, neither of them being able to say a word. Chijioke quickly regained his composure and said to her, "Thank you for saving my life. I thought for sure I was going to die." He continued by saying, "My people have always believed that your kind does not mean well for our people." He then went ahead to narrate the stories he had been told growing up of how the mermaids killed his ancestors and how the villagers feared them. Adesua was sad upon hearing this. Now she understands why her mother has warned her about the humans. She replied to him saying, "These are just stories, and there is no real proof to substantiate them." She also told him that she had also heard bad stories from her people about the humans and how they always used to hunt the mermaids. She even went ahead to tell him that she thought that he was out there hunting, and that was why she hesitated to save him in the first place. He replied to her saying, "I had bad luck in fishing in our own part of the river. That was why I decided to go further than I usually do. Since I didn't catch any fish, I was already headed back home before the tides caught up with me." The duo talked for a long time, till it was finally time for Chijioke to head back home. The two didn't want to leave each other's side, so they both promised to meet there at the same place the very next day. The duo started meeting each other every moonrise at that particular place under the baobab tree located near the shore to give them both enough concealment from anyone who might be watching. Adesua, with her voice like the saltwater wind, told him tales of sunken cities and lost sailors. Chijioke listened, entranced as if the sea itself was whispering to him through her lips. As they shared secrets of each other's worlds, she told him who her mother was. She was Olokun, the queen of the oceans. In her entire life, Adesua had never been so happy. Chijioke always prepared a poem to sing to her every night. Adesua also sang the songs of the oceans to him, and these went on for 3 months. One day, Chijioke decided to tell his folks about the mermaid who saved him and how they had been seeing every night for more than 2 months. His family was shocked and started throwing barrages of questions at him. They believed that the mermaids were enchanting beings with powers to make mortals bend to their wills. They thought that the mermaid had already enchanted him. He told them that wasn't true and that he was saved by one of them. But his folks were disturbed by this development, and soon enough, this became the talk of the town. Everywhere Chijioke went, they whispered about him and his fascination with the human killer. They feared the mermaid's powers to cause storms and will sing, "Fisherman, beware, she'll drag you to the depth." But these only amused him. He asked one of them, "When I was being swallowed up by the tide, where were you?" Chijioke wasn't the only one being attacked by his folks. Down in the ocean, Queen Olokun was furious at her daughter for showing herself to the humans, or even trying to help a human who would have killed them if only he had seen them first. Adesua didn't listen to her mother because she was already in love with Chijioke. The matter got worse when Olokun, the queen of the sea, discovered the two had been seeing each other for more than 2 months and she didn't even know. She tried to raise her daughter to be fearful of the land people and told her stories of the horrible things they've done. But there was little she could do about the curious spirit that was in her daughter. "You now have a choice to make," she said to her daughter. "You could either keep seeing the humans and forget about us as your parents, or stay at home and forget about these humans." Adesua got very upset with what her mother had said and swam away angry. It has always been her dream to walk on land with her feet on bare sand and with the person that she loved. So she decided to take control of the situation. Adesua was at a crossroads. If she wanted to be with Chijioke, she knew she had to have legs like a human. So she thought hard about this and said to herself, what could go wrong? She decided to visit the southern part of the river to meet the seer who was known as Iyami Oshoronga. Iyami Oshoronga was known in the Ocean Kingdom as an evil mermaid with evil powers that grants any mermaid their heart's desires, but at a costly price, sometimes even at the cost of their soul. Adesua knew this, but the determination was in her already. Iyami Oshoronga told her she would pay a very heavy price for her choice. She would lose her tail forever to get the 2 feet she wanted. And not only that, but she would also lose her melodious voice, the very essence of her mermaid soul. After hearing this, she began to doubt her decision, wondering if she was making the right choice by being there, or if there was another way she could get what she wanted. She thought about asking her mother, but her mother, the most powerful mermaid in the ocean, didn't want anything to do with her after her decision. Adesua had made her choice, but the seer told her that for her transformation to be successful, her lover Chijioke would have to seek out the special coral that could only be found in the dangerous parts of a lagoon known as the Lagoon of Whispers, and it can only be done by him. So Adesua told Chijioke of this artifact, and he decided to go in search of it. Before Chijioke left in search of this artifact, Adesua gave him a shell that would serve as a guide and as protection from the dangers in the lagoon. On his success, her voice would be locked in the artifact and hung around her neck like a pendant. Only then would she have a chance to become human. But Iyami Oshoronga, being an evil seer, had her own ulterior motives and didn't tell Adesua everything she needed to know, especially about the costly price Adesua would have to pay. As the day for her transformation grew closer, she prayed and hoped that her lover would return safely to her and that they'd be together soon. But tensions and fear gripped her heart as she struggled with her thoughts, wondering if she could ever become a mermaid again after doing this, and if she would be able to survive as a human.
Chapter 2 of the story is coming up next Tuesday. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out when the next story is uploaded. Subscription is free and it does help the channel to grow. Thank you so much. See you next time.